Should have checked the forecast. Now I look like a drowned rat. Hearing the voice, Carter Evans turned to see a young woman in a light blue sundress with slightly wavy hair, staring pitifully at the curtain of rain outside. She was clutching a canvas tote bag that looked heavy, emblazoned with the logo of an independent bookstore. Carter walked over. "Hey, need a share? I can get you to a spot where you can call an Uber." The woman turned, and Carter saw her eyes were the color of melted chocolate, now tinged with a bit of helplessness. She tilted her head, sizing him up, clearly debating whether this strange man was trustworthy. After a moment's thought, she declined in a clear voice, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm sure it'll let up in a minute." Carter shrugged. "The forecast says this is settling in for a while." He pointed to the corner of a book peeking out of her tote. "Your book's going to get wet." Carter watched as she glanced down at her bag and bit her lower lip. He noticed her unconsciously twisting a strand of hair around her finger. "Well, okay then, if you're sure," she finally conceded, taking a step closer. "I'm Chloe." "Carter." He opened his umbrella, motioning for her to come under. "Where are you headed?" "Just a coffee shop on the corner. I work there." They walked out into the rain together, with Carter deliberately slowing his pace. Chloe was a good half-foot shorter than him, and he had to tilt the umbrella so far in her direction that his own right shoulder was quickly soaked. "What do you do?" Chloe asked. "Software engineer. Over at the tech campus in South Lake Union," Carter replied, suddenly wishing the walk was a little longer. "That makes sense." "What makes sense?" "The way you opened your umbrella. It was like you were writing code, precise, efficient, no wasted motion." Carter blinked, then let out a laugh. "That's a weird compliment." They exchanged their first smile in the middle of that accidental, rainy encounter. Neither of them had any idea that this chance meeting would change both of their lives forever. 3 months later, Carter and Chloe were inseparable. He would head straight to the coffee shop after work to wait for her to close up. She would bring him homemade lunches when he was working late. Lunches that, despite their questionable taste, Carter always claimed were delicious. Like any couple in the throes of new love, they wanted to be stuck to each other 24/7. Their iMessage history was a novel they wrote to each other every single day. "Why did it take you so long to text back today? I had a whole day's worth of stuff to tell you," Chloe asked one Friday night, curled up on the couch in Carter's apartment, poking him in the chest with a pout. Carter caught her fidgeting finger and kissed it. "Had a meeting. Didn't I tell you? 3 hours. A full 3 hours." Chloe exaggerated, holding up 3 fingers. "I thought you'd been abducted by aliens." Carter laughed, pulling her into his arms. "Well, they've got good taste, those aliens." They knew this handsome, gentle programmer had some little goofball waiting on his text for 3 hours. "You're the little goofball," Chloe mumbled, her blush spreading from her neck to her ears. "You're the one who chased me. Besides, I was just bored. That's why I was waiting." They had conversations like this almost every day, the kind of cringy, sweet talk that would make anyone else roll their eyes, but they couldn't get enough of it. The hormones of the honeymoon phase were like an Instagram filter, blurring out every flaw and amplifying every insignificant virtue. Carter had never thought he'd fall in love so fast. For 29 years, he'd been a rational, practical person who figured he was destined to be a bachelor for life. But after meeting Chloe, he finally understood what the poets meant by head over heels. One weekend, Carter did something unheard of. He woke up early and started making a mess in the kitchen. When Chloe walked in, rubbing her eyes, she was stunned by the sight. The counter was littered with eggshells, flour, and bizarrely chopped vegetables. Carter was staring at a YouTube tutorial on his phone, trying to fry an egg. "What are you doing?" Chloe asked, her eyes wide. Carter turned, a smear of flour on his face. "I was trying to make you breakfast." He ran a hand through his hair, embarrassed. "But it looks like it's not going so well." Chloe looked at his flustered, messy state and felt a surge of affection. She rushed over and hugged him. "You idiot. We can do it together." That day, the eggs were burned to a crisp and the toast was charred, but Chloe still said it was the most delicious breakfast she'd ever had. Watching her, a smudge of jam on the corner of her mouth she hadn't noticed, Carter felt something slam into his heart. "Move in with me." Chloe froze, her spoon hovering midair. Carter immediately regretted his impulsiveness. They'd only known each other for 3 months. It was too fast. "Okay," Chloe said, putting the spoon down her eyes curving into crescents. But you have to promise me. No more socks left on the couch. Carter let out a breath he didn't know he was holding and held up 3 fingers. Scout's honor. And so, on the 98th day after they met, Carter and Chloe started living together. The first few weeks were like a never-ending honeymoon. They wandered through IKEA picking out furniture, argued playfully over where the towels should be hung, and laughed in the supermarket aisle over which toothpaste to buy. Carter loved wrapping his arms around Chloe from behind while she was cooking, resting his chin on her shoulder. Chloe loved giving Carter a surprise kiss while he was deep in concentration at his computer, then running away with a giggle. However, as time went on, the honeymoon filter began to fade. By the 3rd week of living together, Carter noticed Chloe's neat freak tendencies bordered on obsessive. He came home from work one day to find that all of his belongings had been reorganized. Charging cables were coiled into perfect spirals, the shirts in his closet were arranged by color, and even his toothbrush was angled in the exact same direction as hers. "What's all this?" Carter asked, standing stunned in the bedroom doorway. Chloe poked her head out of the kitchen. "I tidied up. What do you think? So much better, right?" Carter walked into the bedroom and saw his drawers had been rearranged, too. "You went through my stuff." "Yeah, it was a mess. I couldn't find anything," Chloe said, walking over with her hands on her hips, expecting praise. Carter's brow furrowed. "That's my personal stuff. You should have asked me first." Chloe's smile froze. I was just trying to help." They had their first real fight that night. Though they made up quickly, a crack had appeared. Carter started noticing more of Chloe's little habits. She would get up in the middle of the night to check that the door was locked. She would wipe down the remote control with an alcohol wipe 3 times, and she would talk to him nonstop from outside the bathroom door while he was trying to use it. At the same time, Chloe started complaining about Carter's sloppiness, his video game addiction, and how he always forgot to put the toilet seat down. "Can you please not leave your wet towel on the bed?" Chloe snapped one Sunday morning, tossing a damp towel at his face. Carter looked up from the game on his phone, confused. "When did I? Oh, maybe after my shower last night. You just... Chloe rolled her eyes. "This is the 3rd time this week. And your gross socks, why are they always stuffed in the couch cushions?" Carter put his phone down and sighed. "You're right, I'm sorry. I'll go clean it up. It's always I'm sorry, and then you do it again." Chloe's voice rose. "What's the point? You just don't care how I feel." "How can you say I don't care?" Carter's temper flared. "Just because I don't do things exactly your way." "Chloe, this is my apartment. I should be able to put my stuff where I want." The words were out before he could stop them. Chloe's face went pale. She turned, walked into the bedroom, and slammed the door. For the rest of the day, the apartment was eerily silent. They stayed in their separate corners, ignoring each other. That evening, Carter made dinner and brought it to the bedroom door, knocking softly. "Chloe, dinner's ready." No response. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that," Carter said, resting his forehead against the door. "Please come out and eat." The door opened a crack, revealing Chloe's red, swollen eyes. "It's our home," she said, her voice hoarse from crying. "Not yours and not mine. It's ours." Carter's heart clenched. He set the tray aside and pulled her into a tight hug. "I'm sorry. It's our home." They made up, but Carter knew something had changed. The initial passion was fading, replaced by the monotony of daily life, a life that was at times incredibly boring. He started to miss the heart-pounding excitement of when they first met, the days of dressing up just to see each other, the nights spent talking until dawn. It was then that a new intern started at his company, Sophia Hayes. She was 22, a recent pre-med graduate from top university, with long, flowing hair and 2 dimples when she smiled. The rumor was that she was the CEO's daughter, and her father wanted her to get some corporate experience before committing to medicine. She was assigned to Carter's project team, with him as her mentor. "Carter, I don't really get this piece of code. Can you walk me through it?" Sophia leaned in close, a cloud of sweet perfume surrounding her. Carter subtly leaned back. "You need to use a recursive algorithm here." "Wow, you're a genius," Sophia said, blinking her big eyes. "When will I ever be as good as you?" It was a little over the top, but Carter figured it was just her way of trying to lighten the mood during a stressful project. He didn't think much of it. Conversations like this happened almost every day. Sophia was clearly interested in him, always finding excuses to get close. She would happen to sit next to him at lunch and happened to be heading to the light rail station at the same time after work. Carter wasn't stupid. He knew what was going on, but he enjoyed the feeling of being admired. It reminded him of the thrill he'd felt when he first met Chloe. Meanwhile, the atmosphere at home was growing heavier. His conversations with Chloe had shrunk to, "What's for dinner?" and "Don't forget to pay the electric bill." They no longer had endless things to talk about, no longer got excited over small surprises for each other. Carter began to wonder if this was what love eventually became. A fiery passion that inevitably fizzled out, like a can of soda left open for too long, all the bubbles gone, leaving nothing but cloyingly sweet syrup. One night, after working late, Carter walked Sophia to the station. The summer air was hot and humid. Sophia was wearing a short skirt, radiating youthful energy. "Carter, do you have a girlfriend?" He paused for a second. "Yeah, we live together." "Oh." Sophia's disappointment was obvious as she pouted. "She must be amazing then." Carter thought of Chloe, who lately only seemed to complain about him not doing chores. He gave a bitter smile. "She's great. A bit of a neat freak, though. Ugh, I can't stand neat freaks," Sophia said, waving her hands dramatically. "Life's supposed to be a little messy. That's what makes it fun." Carter didn't respond. They reached the entrance to the station, and Sophia suddenly turned to him. "Carter, actually, Just then his phone buzzed. It was Chloe. "I have to take this," he told Sophia, stepping aside. "When are you coming home?" Chloe's voice sounded tired. "I made some sun tea for you." Carter looked at his watch. It was almost 11. "On my way. At the station now." "Okay. Be safe." When he hung up, Carter saw Sophia still standing there, watching him with a complicated expression. "What's up?" Sophia took a deep breath. "Carter, I like you. I know you have a girlfriend, but I just can't help it." Carter froze, his heart suddenly hammering in his chest. Sophia was young, beautiful, and full of life. Most importantly, she made him feel that spark again. And waiting for him at home was a glass of sun tea and an endless list of arguments about chores. "Sophia." Carter opened his mouth, unsure of what he was going to say. Just then his phone buzzed again. It was a new text from Chloe. "Forgot to say, I picked up those tacos you love from that place in Ballard. They're in the microwave, staying warm. Hurry home." The message was followed by a goofy gif she used to send all the time when they first started dating. Suddenly, Carter remembered that first rainy day, how she had nervously twisted her hair around her finger. He remembered the look in her eyes, shimmering with tears of happiness, when she tasted his disastrous first attempt at making her breakfast. He remembered how, after every fight, she was always the first one to give in, even when it wasn't her fault. "I'm sorry, Sophia," Carter said, putting his phone away, his voice firm. "I'm really happy with my girlfriend." "I'm sorry." Sophia's eyes welled up. "Is she really that great?" Carter thought for a moment. "Her flaws are as numerous as the stars." "Then what?" "But her virtues are like the sun," Carter said softly. "And when the sun comes out, you can't see the stars anymore." Carter had hoped that rejecting Sophia would be the end of it, but he underestimated the young woman's persistence. On Monday morning, an iced Americano was sitting on his desk with a smiley face drawn on the cup and marker. Carter looked around and caught a glimpse of Sophia peeking over her cubicle wall. She ducked back down quickly, like a startled rabbit. "Thanks, but you don't have to do that," Carter texted her. Sophia replied instantly, "It's just coffee." The whole team got one. Carter glanced around, and, sure enough, his co-workers had the same cups on their desks. He relaxed and pushed the coffee aside, focusing on his work. At lunch, however, Sophia happened to appear in the company cafeteria, sitting down directly across from him with her tray. "Carter, I had an idea about the project we were discussing yesterday." She began, blinking her large eyes, all business. Carter couldn't exactly tell her to leave, so he listened through gritted teeth. Sophia was genuinely smart, and her suggestions were insightful. Before he knew it, the entire lunch break had passed. When Carter checked the time and realized he was late, his stomach dropped. He'd forgotten to reply to Chloe's messages. He had 3 unread texts. "What did you have for lunch?" Not texting back again. "Fine." The last one had been sent an hour and a half ago. Carter quickly typed a reply. "Sorry, got caught up talking about the project and forgot to check my phone." Chloe didn't reply. Carter felt a surge of irritation. Why did he have to report his every move? He wasn't a child. As he was leaving work, the sky opened up in a torrential downpour. Carter stood at the entrance, debating whether to wait it out or make a run for the light rail, when a pink umbrella suddenly appeared in front of him. "Take mine. My boyfriend is picking me up," Sophia said with a smile. Carter frowned. "Your boyfriend?" Yesterday, she was confessing her feelings for him, and today she had a boyfriend. "Just kidding," she said, sticking her tongue out. "I live in the company dorms. It's just a short run for me. You have a long way to go. Don't get soaked." Before Carter could refuse, she shoved the umbrella into his hand and dashed out into the rain. He watched her back, quickly drenched, a complicated mix of feelings churning inside him. When he got home, Chloe was in the kitchen cooking. She heard the door open, but didn't turn around. The umbrella. Carter looked down, realizing he was still clutching Sophia's pink umbrella. "I borrowed it from a coworker. I'll give it back tomorrow." A female coworker. Chloe turned, her gaze landing on the distinctly feminine umbrella. Carter's throat felt tight. "Yeah, the intern. She didn't have one." "How thoughtful of her," Chloe said, her tone unreadable. She turned back to chopping vegetables, the knife hitting the cutting board with more force than usual. That night, the air between them was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Carter tried to explain several times, but it felt like he was making a big deal out of nothing. "It was just an umbrella, right?" Before bed, Chloe lay with her back to him. "Carter," she said, her voice muffled, "do you still love me?" Carter was taken aback. "Of course I do. Then why can't I feel it?" Her shoulders started to shake slightly. He reached out to hold her, but she gently pulled away. For the next 2 weeks, Carter was caught in a strange conflict. On one hand, he enjoyed the subtle, will-o-won't game with Sophia. She would flash him secret smiles in meetings, bring him homemade cookies, and find excuses to brush her arm against his. On the other hand, he was growing exhausted by Chloe's increasing suspicion. "Why was your phone off last night?" Chloe demanded, blocking the doorway one Friday evening. Carter rubbed his temples wearily. "The battery died. I was working late." "Was Sophia working late too?" Chloe asked with a cold smile. "I called the front desk at the office. The receptionist said you two left together." The blood drained from Carter's face. "You're checking up on me. Shouldn't I be?" Chloe's voice started to tremble. "Carter, look at yourself. When was the last time you really looked at me? The last time you hugged me without me starting it? Do you even care about this home anymore? I work my ass off every day, and then I have to come home to your interrogations." Carter finally exploded. "Yes, Sophia has a crush on me, but I haven't done anything. Can you just stop being so neurotic?" The word hung in the air. Chloe's face went white, and tears began to stream silently down her cheeks. "Neurotic?" she repeated softly. "Carter, let's break up." Carter felt like he'd been struck by lightning. "What?" "I said, we're breaking up," Chloe said, wiping her tears away, her voice unnervingly calm. "I'll be moved out by tomorrow." "Chloe, I was just angry. I didn't mean it." He panicked, reaching for her hand. She pulled away and walked into the bedroom, closing the door. Carter stood outside, listening to her suppressed sobs. He raised his hand to knock, but let it fall defeated. That night, Carter slept on the couch, tossing and turning. At 3 a.m, he quietly opened the bedroom door and saw Chloe's tear-stained face in the moonlight. His heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. How had he let things get this bad? The next day was Saturday. Carter woke up early and went out to buy Chloe's favorite bagels, hoping it would be a peace offering. But when he got home, he found she had already packed a suitcase. "Are you really leaving?" Carter blocked the door. "Can we please just talk about this?" Chloe shook her head. "I think we both need some time to cool off. At least have breakfast first," Carter pleaded. Chloe looked at the paper bag in his hands, and her eyes reddened again. "Carter, do you remember that I hate sesame seeds?" Carter looked down. The everything bagels he'd bought were covered in them. He opened his mouth to make an excuse, but couldn't find the words. He had forgotten. "Goodbye," Chloe said softly, pushing past him and pulling her suitcase into the elevator. Carter stood frozen, the bag slipping from his grasp and hitting the floor with a soft thud. The scent of toasted bagels filled the air, mixed with the sharp smell of sesame, just like their love. It used to be delicious, but now it was full of things that didn't belong. After Chloe left, the apartment was terrifyingly quiet. Carter sent her countless messages, starting with apologies, then moving to please, and finally to angry questions. The only reply he ever got was the cold, silent read receipt. On Monday at work, Sophia immediately noticed his mood. "Carter, what's wrong?" Carter forced a smile. "Nothing. Just personal stuff. Did you fight with your girlfriend?" "We broke up," he said, the words escaping before he could stop them. He immediately regretted it. What was he doing? Sending a signal. Sophia's eyes lit up for a fraction of a second before she masked it. "Oh, I'm sorry. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." Carter mumbled a non-committal thanks and buried himself in his work. During his lunch break, his phone rang with an unknown number. It was a hospital. "Is this Mr. Carter Evans?" "A Ms. Chloe Miller was in a car accident. She's at Harborview Medical Center." Carter's world spun. He couldn't remember how he got to the hospital, only the sharp smell of antiseptic and the blinding white walls. "Chloe," he yelled, bursting into the ER. He saw a familiar figure lying on a bed, her left leg in a cast, a bandage on her forehead. Chloe saw him and was clearly stunned. "How did you?" "The hospital called me," Carter said, his voice trembling. "Are you okay? Does it hurt?" Chloe looked away. "I'm fine. Just a fracture. I'm not dying." A doctor came over to explain her condition, but Carter didn't hear a word. He just stared at Chloe's pale face. She had lost weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Clearly, she hadn't been sleeping well either. "She'll need to be admitted for observation for a couple of days," the doctor finished. "A family member needs to handle the paperwork." Carter nodded immediately, but Chloe stopped him. "No, it's fine. I can do it myself." "Don't be ridiculous," Carter said, his tone firmer than she'd ever heard it. "How are you going to take care of yourself like this?" After finishing the paperwork, Carter ran into someone completely unexpected in the hallway outside her room. "Sophia? Sophia, what are you?" She looked up, equally surprised. "Carter, I quit the tech internship. I hated it, and my dad can't tell me what to do with my life." "My girlfriend was in an accident," Carter said automatically, then corrected himself. "My ex-girlfriend." Sophia's expression became complicated. "What a coincidence. I'm a resident here. I'm assigned to this ward." They stood in the hallway, an awkward silence hanging between them. Finally, Sophia took a deep breath. "Carter, there's something I need to tell you." She led him to a resident's lounge and closed the door. "About Chloe. I saw on her chart that you're her emergency contact." Carter nodded. "We were together for 2 years. Do you know where she's been staying these past few days?" Sophia asked. Her address was listed as a motel. A sharp pain shot through Carter's chest. He knew the place. It was cheap, and the conditions were terrible. "Carter," Sophia said, her tone suddenly serious, "I'm not going to lie, I had a huge crush on you. But seeing the way you rushed into the hospital today," she gave a sad smile, "there's no room for anyone else in your eyes." Carter was speechless. And Sophia continued, pulling a small notebook from her pocket. This was in her personal effects. "I probably shouldn't show you, but..." Carter took it. It was a small journal with the happiness diary written on the cover. He opened it to the first page. In Chloe's neat handwriting, it read, "Met a big goofball today who insisted on sharing his umbrella. He tilted it so far toward me his whole shoulder got soaked. P.S. He has dimples when he smiles. Cute." The date was the day they had met. Carter flipped through the pages, each one documenting a small moment from their life together. "Carter cooked for me for the first time. The eggs looked like charcoal, but he's the first person besides my mom to ever cook for me. First night, living together. He hugged me in his sleep. I've never felt so happy. We fought. He said it was his apartment. It hurts so much. But he kissed my forehead while he thought I was asleep to apologize. I forgive him." The last entry was from the day before the accident. Day 3 of the breakup. "I still miss him so much. Walked past our favorite bagel shop and cried like an idiot. Carter, I would rather fight with you every day than have you be cold to me. If the love is gone, please just be honest and tell me." Carter's hands were shaking, tears blurring his vision. He never knew. He never knew that all these tiny moments he had long forgotten, Chloe had treasured like jewels. "Go be with her," Sophia said softly. "It's obvious she loves you more than anything." Carter looked up. "And you?" "Me?" Sophia tossed her ponytail with a flash of her old confidence. I think I figured something out. What I really liked was the way you looked at Chloe. That total focus, that tenderness. I just want someone to look at me like that, too. She smiled. This girl will find the right person for her. When Carter returned to the room, Chloe was awkwardly trying to reach the cup of water on her bedside table, her broken leg making it difficult. He rushed over to help, their hands brushing against the cup. They both flinched back, as if from an electric shock. "Thanks," Chloe whispered. Carter sat in the chair beside her bed and placed the happiness diary on the blanket. "Sophia gave this to me." Chloe's face turned bright red. She tried to snatch it back, but couldn't move. "She can't do that. That's private." "Chloe," Carter said, taking her hand. "I'm sorry." Tears instantly welled in her eyes. "What are you sorry for? For getting caught?" "No, for screwing everything up," he said, gripping her hand tightly. "I've been such an idiot, taking the most precious thing in my life for granted." He opened the journal to a specific page. "Remember this? Last winter, you had a fever of 102, and I drove all over town in the middle of the night to find an open pharmacy." Chloe nodded, tears silently tracing paths down her cheeks. "To be honest, I was really annoyed that night. I had a huge presentation the next day," Carter said with a bitter smile. "But looking back on it now, that memory is more valuable to me than any presentation I've ever given." The room fell silent, save for the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. Chloe suddenly looked up, her eyes glistening. If this accident hadn't happened, would we be over? Carter's breath hitched. The question was like a knife, cutting through any easy answers. He looked out the window at the darkening sky, thinking for a long time before he spoke. Maybe not. He felt her hand tremble in his and squeezed it tighter. "But what I do know is that without this, I might never have realized how stupid I've been." He pressed her hand to his cheek. "I was like a blind man. I couldn't see that you had already given me everything. I was chasing after some new, exciting feeling, and I forgot that the most valuable thing was right beside me all along." Chloe's tears fell onto the white comforter, spreading into small, dark circles. "Carter, I'm scared." "Of what?" "I'm scared that we're just making up because of the shock of the accident. That when everything goes back to normal, you'll get bored again." Her voice was barely a whisper. Carter moved from the chair to the edge of the bed, carefully avoiding her injured leg, and wrapped his arms around her. "Listen to me, Chloe. This accident didn't create anything new. It just woke me up." He kissed the top of her head. "Even without it, we might have hurt each other for a little while longer, but in the end," she asked, tilting her face up to his. "In the end, I would have found my way back to you," Carter said, using his thumb to wipe away her tears. "Because from the day I met you, my heart knew. It just took my stupid brain a long time to catch up." A watery smile broke through her tears. "Promise?" "I promise." He picked up the journal. "Look, even when we were fighting, you were still writing down the good things. Your love was so much stronger than mine." Chloe reached up and caressed his face. "Carter, do you know why I started this journal?" He shook his head. "Because my mom always said that love is like a plant. You have to water it every day," she said softly. "Anyone can enjoy the passion of the honeymoon phase. The hard part is finding the little moments of happiness worth remembering when things get quiet." Carter pressed his forehead against her hand. "From now on, let's write in it together, okay?" Outside, the sun was setting, casting warm stripes of light through the blinds and onto the floor. Chloe suddenly remembered something, her brow furrowing slightly. "What about Sophia?" Carter smiled. "She gets it. It's funny. She said what she really liked was the way I look at you." "What way is that?" "This way," Carter said, gazing at Chloe, his eyes so full of love it seemed ready to spill over. Like you're the only person in the world. Chloe blushed, this time from happiness. She leaned her head gently on his shoulder. "My leg really hurts. Should I get the doctor?" "No." She shook her head. "Just stay like this for a little while." Carter adjusted his position to make her more comfortable, his fingers gently combing through her hair. The beeping of the monitor seemed to transform into a timer, counting the seconds of this new beginning. "Carter." "Yeah. Next time you even think about stuffing your socks in the couch cushions, I'll eat them myself. You won't have to lift a finger." Chloe burst out laughing, which made her wince from the pain in her leg. Carter immediately fussed over her, and in their clumsy, caring dance, they were right back to the way they were when they first met. Maybe this was what real love looked like. Imperfect, full of arguments and confusion, but as long as two hearts were pointed toward each other, they could always find their way home. After Chloe's leg healed, Carter started thinking seriously about their future. One night, he was scrolling through his phone in bed and saw an Instagram post from an old college buddy, Leo Davis. It was a picture of two marriage certificates. The caption read, "The rest of my life starts now." Carter stared at the post for a long moment, then turned to look at Chloe, who was lying next to him with a sheet mask on her face. "Chloe, let's get married." Chloe's fingers froze, the mask nearly sliding off her face. She slowly turned her head, narrowing her eyes. "Is that a proposal, or are you just giving me an update?" Carter blinked, realizing how casual he'd sounded. He shot upright. "A proposal? Definitely a proposal. Just haven't figured out how to do it right yet." Chloe snorted, patting the mask back into place. "Well, you go think about it. Let me know when you come up with something." Carter was left speechless. Carter's first proposal attempt involved a candlelit dinner at home. He took a half day off work, bought roses, scented candles, and even followed a recipe to cook the perfect steak. However, when Chloe got home from work, she was carrying a large pizza box and was followed by her best friend, Mia. "Surprise! Mia's crashing for dinner," Chloe announced cheerfully as she pushed the door open, then froze. Carter was standing by the dining table, holding a ring box, his expression completely frozen. Mia looked from the candles to Carter's face. "Am I interrupting something?" Chloe glanced at the table full of candles, then back at Carter's stiff posture, and burst out laughing. "Carter, don't tell me you were trying." "No, it was just really dark in here. I'm afraid of the dark, so I lit a few candles for light," Carter stammered. Mia played along. "Wouldn't turning on the lights be easier?" "The bulbs are kind of dim," Carter deadpanned. "Maybe I should come to your place for better ones next time. You're a pretty bright third wheel, after all." Chloe stifled her laughter and walked over, patting his shoulder. "Next time, give me a heads up so I can play my part." Carter's sense of defeat grew. For his second attempt, Carter decided to go for something more romantic. He asked Chloe to go to the beach, planning to get down on one knee at sunset. But the weather had other plans. A sudden thunderstorm rolled in. The two of them huddled miserably under the awning of a convenience store, Chloe's hair completely soaked and Carter's nice blazer wrinkled. "Carter, what on earth are we doing here?" Chloe asked, wringing water from her clothes. He took a deep breath and pulled the rain-soaked ring box from his pocket. "Might as well do it now." He dropped to one knee, rainwater dripping from his hair onto his face. "Chloe, I know I'm not romantic, and I'm not the most considerate guy. Maybe my luck just comes with rain. I met you on a rainy day, and now I'm proposing on a rainy day. But I still want to ask," he said, his voice earnest. "Will you marry me for the rest of our lives?" Chloe looked at his pathetic, drenched state and started to laugh. "The ring's all wet. Will it even fit?" "Yes." She held out her hand. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Carter stared for a second. Then a massive grin spread across his face as he fumbled to get the ring onto her finger. Proposal attempt number 2. A soggy success. On their wedding day, everything was perfect until the officiant asked the bride and groom to exchange rings, and Carter realized the ring was gone. "I swear it was in my pocket," he panicked, frantically patting himself down. Chloe whispered, "Didn't you take your jacket off when you were taking pictures earlier?" Carter's face fell. He was doomed. Just then, Sophia stood up from her seat among the guests, holding up a sparkling ring. Looking for this, it turned out that one of the groomsmen had grabbed Carter's jacket for a photo, and the ring had fallen out. Sophia had found it. Carter breathed a huge sigh of relief, took the ring, and whispered a quiet thank you to her. Sophia smiled, her eyes clear and genuine. "Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness." Chloe looked at Sophia and suddenly thought that this girl, who had once made her so jealous, was actually pretty wonderful.